Yo, what's up, man? That's your boy, Little Dawg, back again. Dawg, the real gangster, class 3, Modal Verbs 1. We're going to have more classes about modal verbs. So if you don't understand how modal verbs work, don't worry. We're going to have second and third class. Today we're going to focus on the words can, could, may, and should. Those are 4 examples of modal verbs. But what the hell is modal verbs? Modal verbs are just other kinds of verbs. We have the verbs do, we have the verbs walk, talk, speak, and all these kinds of verbs. And then they have different groups. For example, you have the regular verbs, irregular verbs, phrasal verbs. Today we're going to talk about modal verbs. And the modal verbs, they have some rules. And please check the general rules in here. First rule, rule number 1. They work as auxiliary verbs. Rule number 2. They have their own negative forms. Rule number 3. They do not receive S in the third person singular. He, she, it. Because according to the other verbs, in the present, you have to put the S, right? For example, if you say, I walk and she walks. I talk and she talks. I speak English and she speaks English. But for the modal verbs, you do not need to put the S. And the rule number 4, you ask a question by switching places, the verb and subject. If it's a positive sentence, the subject comes first, and then comes the verb. But if it's a question, all you have to do is to invert. So let's check some examples. So can. This verb can here is used in 2 situations. When you're talking about ability, a thing that you know how to do. For example, I know how to swim. I swim all styles you want, man. Front stroke, back stroke, side stroke, all the strokes you want, man. Well, if you use the word can for ability, you say, for example, I can swim. One thing that's very interesting, after can, after all the modal verbs, you never put the preposition to. The verb has to come in base form all the time, okay? You cannot say, I can to swim. It's wrong, okay? You say, I can swim, I can speak English, I can speak Spanish, I can speak French. Not really. I can speak Wolof. By the way, shout out to my niggas from Senegal, man. My brother Osmani and Maha, man. Shout out. I can swim. And how do you make the negative sentence for that? As I said before, on rule number 2, they have their own negative form. So you don't need an auxiliary verb because they are auxiliary verbs. So be back here. So instead of saying, I don't can, I didn't can, these things, you're not going to do it. You're going to say, I can't swim. As simple as that, okay? So it says, I can swim and I can't swim. How do you differentiate? How do you know that one is positive and the other is negative? By writing, it's easy. By reading, it's completely easy. But when you're speaking in positive sentence, you focus on the verb that you can do. For example, you say, I can swim. I can swim. But if it's negative, you focus on the negative. You say, I can't swim. Can you swim? That's the question. I'm putting the question over here. Bring that to here. That's the question. As I said before, you're going to invert. Can you swim? And if it's positive, you say, yes, I can. And if it's negative, you say, no, I can't. Okay? The same thing will work for could. You can use could for ability as well. So here's can for ability. Could is the past of can. Use it for ability. Look at this. When I was 3 years old, When I was 3 years old, imagine me, a baby gangster, because I was a thug since I was a little kid. But you have to work with education too. So that's a thug with education, you know what I'm saying? So when I was 3 years old, do you think I could swim when I was 3 years old? Not at all. When I was 3 years old, I could. Could is the positive, but it's the negative now. I couldn't. I couldn't swim. But even though I couldn't swim, I would ask my mom if I could go to the pool by myself. And my mother would always say no. And you know the question that I asked her to ask for permission? That was using may. I was like, Mom, please, I know I'm 3 years old, but may I go swimming? May I go swimming? And my mother, you say, you may not. Okay, you may not. And then, I have this other word, the last one for today, which is the word should. Should is used when you're giving suggestions to people. Person comes and say, well, I have $1 million and I don't know what to do with that money. What should I do? That's the question. What should I do? And then you say, well, you have $1 million? Well, $1 million is a lot of money, but, well, it's not a lot of money. You can double it up. You can make more money off of that. So what should I do? I think, my opinion, my suggestion, I think you should invest your money in the stock market. Let me see. I think you should invest your money, or can I say invest it because you have a context, it means your money. I think you should invest it in the stock market. You know what a stock market is? The stock market, you have, in Brazil here, you have Bovespa. In the United States, you have Dow Jones. You have, what else in the United States? Dow Jones. Yeah, you understand what a stock market is. I don't have money in the stock market because I'm a teacher and I don't have a lot of money. So let's see what we have in here. So this is what we call modal verbs. We have 4 examples of them. Can, could, may, and should. Can and could, they're both used for permission and for ability. We have examples of ability today. Could is the past tense of the verb can. So say, I can swim. When I was 3 years old, I could not swim, or I couldn't swim. May is used for permission, when you're asking for permission. Mom, may I go swimming? And my mother would say, no, you may not, because you're 3 years old. Okay. And should is the last one for today, is for suggestion. I say, hey, brother, hey, what should I do with this money? I have $1 million. What should I do? I give my opinion, my suggestion. I think you should invest in the stock market. Okay? So this is our modal verb class. Thank you very much. See you in the fourth class. That's it, man. That's your boy, Dawg. Holla.